Yeah, well, I mean, we're delighted with the way we played. We set the game up in a certain way, and it's very, very rare that things go, according to plan to that extent. That being said, we've clearly still got things we've got to work on, and I rate the playing list Fremantle have built over the last few years, and we're well aware that David Mundy, I thought he was super in the first quarter. He was a real concern for us. But, when you haven't played a game of footy in 8 weeks, you come back in to AFL level, it's always going to be hard. So, and they had a Sandilands, they had a few players in that category. So, it's very, very difficult from a coach's perspective when your players are just running on empty as it appeared the Freo boys were today. But, we could only hold up our end of the bargain, and, I thought we did that really well.
Because timing's everything. You were in this position, early in the season, you had a casualty list, like a hospital ward.
Yeah.
It's come together at the right time for you.
Yeah, it has. It's a real credit to our sports science and to our medical staff that we've been able to rebuild our list to a large extent. Because, I mean, there were periods there in the pre-season where we had 29 fit players to train in pre-season, which is a disastrous scenario. So we've had a new team come in that area, and they've done an outstanding job to get us into the situation we're in now in terms of player availability. We're well ahead of the league average, and we have been for quite a while. So when you're able to do that, you can build some real continuity within your group, and we're getting the same players starting to play together now and developing a bit of camaraderie and a bit of a game style that I hope is evident for people to see.
You've got, you're now half a game out of 8th. 2 games where you think you have a very strong chance. What are your thoughts about the rest of the season?
That's exactly the same as it was last week. We've got, last week we had 3 games, and we said we were going to make an assault on those 3 games, and all the changes is we've only got 2 games now to do that. So we can only hold up our end, and where that leaves us will be where we deserve to finish. And I know I've said that in the past, but it still reigns true. I mean, we've got 2 games to go. We've got to win both of them to be a chance to be, part of September. But I'm also really, really conscious that we've got to, be playing the sort of footy that is worthy of being a finalist team. And no point getting into 8th and getting obliterated in the first week of the final. So, we've still got to improve, and we'll get a really good test next week against a genuinely good side in St Kilda.
Just on that, you say no point going in and getting obliterated. How do you rate the importance of getting in as opposed to ongoing development?
Oh, I think they're one and the same. If we, I think, last year I was really. I can honestly say, it would have been great for North Melbourne for us to get into the finals, but from a coach's perspective, it was about improving and being good enough against the good sides. Now, last year, realistically, we weren't good enough to play in September. Hence we finished 9th. This year, I tend to think that it would be great experience for our boys to experience a final, and but we still got to play well enough to get there. And the great thing is that we've got to beat St Kilda to get there. So, and I think if you in round 23, if you beat a side like St Kilda, then I don't think anyone could argue that you're not worthy.
In that regard, it was only a few weeks ago really that you played against St Kilda last time. What do you take from that, and do you take confidence from that game going into this time, regardless of the fact that you did come up a little bit short? Yeah, we did, but I thought we closed the gap. That wasn't difficult. They beat us by about 170 points combined the previous 2 times we played them. So, we bridged the gap, but we're still. We're really confident because the players that we've got have now had enough time to understand the way that I want them to play and the coaches want them to play, and they're starting to execute that really well. Last year it was certainly a work in progress. So, we fell short against Hawthorn and Carlton, who are genuine top 4 sides. I think St Kilda are playing footy that is worthy of those positions on the ladder too. So we get another test. If we're good enough, we'll get them. And then we get a chance to again hold up our end of the bargain against Richmond in round 24. If we do that, we may get there, we may not, but we can only win those last 2 games.
Tests though, this side of the season as opposed to the first side must be a bit sweet, aren't they? When you're gelling like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it had been a really tough run for us too prior to the bye. So we had 17 consecutive games and a pretty tough draw within that. So to be able to get the rest last week was critical, and the boys have obviously come out and responded really well from that. So now we've got another 7 days, and we'll sit back and watch the Sydney St Kilda game with interest, and come out firing again next week and see where it leaves us. Only Jack Zeeble, who has got a pretty heavy knock in the chest. He attacks the game, unbelievably hard, Jack. And so when the doctors said they were concerned about some internal complications, we just didn't want to take any risks. So I suppose that's where the sub rule works beautifully, because we could sub him off and bring on Cruz Garland, who impacted the game well. So we think he'll be okay. I spoke to him on the phone before. He's just getting some precautionary tests at hospital. But look, he didn't want to. He wanted to keep going. But when you're talking about potential internal injuries that you can't possibly diagnose without a scan, we just weren't prepared to take that risk. Yeah, no, well, we weren't sure whether Lee Adams was going to come up from injury. So, he actually did a bit of a fitness test, and he came through with flying colours. So, Ben Cunnington has been battling a few little niggling injuries. So, that made sense to make that change when Cunnington wasn't quite right and Adams was.
Well, you obviously wanted to prove he was going all right. Had a great start.
Yeah, we rate him extremely highly internally. Eventually he'll get those that credit externally as well. But fantastic player for us, and to have Campbell and Thomas and Wells in that forward line with Adams, we think it gives us a real point of difference.
Just on tonight, was the most pleasing thing for you the even spread? It seemed that all 22 seemed to carry the load.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the first time in a long time we've had that level of contribution from 22 players. Now part of having a young and inexperienced side is that you can get fluctuations in performance, and you do. You can sometimes leave too much to too few, but that was really pleasing tonight. Aaron Mullett came in. I thought he was terrific on debut. 16 or 17 possessions, and Kieran Harper looks like he looks like an AFL footballer now in his first year. So to get that level of contribution from the young guys was terrific.
You mentioned those young guys, Brad. I mean, probably at the start of the year, people referred to North as probably a bit dour, a bit of a one-pace side, but they give it. I mean, I know you would agree with that, but they definitely give it a different look.
Yeah, those sort of people on the outside can only judge on what they've seen in the past. So I think that was probably a fair assumption. We knew that was an area we needed to address. We needed to get some speed and some flair into our midfield. Not that Daniel Wells and Lindsay Thomas and Matty Campbell are lacking in that area, but we think in one draft we made a significant improvement in that area with Sean Atley and Kieran Harper coming into the side. So, I think it's only about the second game all year that Campbell and Thomas have played together too. So, I think we're starting to develop that synergy with those players and really starting to get a good mix of the inside ball winners and the outside speed, which can give us a little bit more polish.
Obviously, great attacking effort tonight. The defence really didn't give Freo anything.
Yeah, no, they were good. They did what they had to do. So, really pleased to have Nathan Grimer back in the side. I made a mistake bringing him back a little bit too early. Given that he hadn't done a pre-season. So he's had a month now in the VFL, and I thought he looked really, really strong. Won some crucial contests one-on-one and ran out the game really well. So, again, that's pleasing.